our cemetery history stories here. It's October the 1st, 2022, a beautiful day. Little bit of breeze that I'm hoping isn't going to mess up the sound for us. But we have here two people from the Mills family, cousins. This is Gail Hodges, Gail LeClercq Hodges, but her mother was a Mills. And this is Danny Mills, and he belongs to the Ira Helen that we will see in a moment. So we're going to hear from them about the grandparents first of all.
Grandpa Mills was originally from Prince Edward Island. He came to Alberta, to the south of Alberta. He moved here, I'm not sure of the year, bringing his children with him except one. He had 9 children. The oldest one stayed south. The rest of his family all came to this area and have pretty much stayed in this area.
Yeah. The oldest brother's name?
The oldest boy was Hal, and then there was a daughter, Norma, and then I missed one before Norma. It was Hal, Percy, Pope, Norma, Ira, Percy, Horace, Edna, Wally, and Gilbert.
Well done.
Yeah, you did get the 9.
And all the family was pretty well, it stayed around Sangudo.
So what did Martha and Everett do? He had a business.
He had a butcher shop. That's all I can tell you.
Huh?
Grandpa ran a butcher shop in this area.
Right on Main Street.
Right on Main Street. He
Coach hockey.
He was very involved in hockey. He had an all-girls hockey team, and the boys.
Yeah. Now, a lot of that story is in my Aunt Lillian Ross's book, Heavens to Betsy. Pictures of the hockey teams, pictures of them, pictures of the store, and so on. At one point, it burnt down. The meat market burnt down, but they rebuilt. And when they rebuilt, they built suites up on the top and rented them out, and that's where my Aunt Lily and her sister and Aunt Mary stayed for a while, and also a doctor rented one of those suites, and so people would come there. Lily got the job of cleaning up this suite.
No, there's no Mills left.
Well, that's to double check on that.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Unless there's something you can think.
Okay, and what else I was going to say is Grandpa raised his children on his own for quite a few years. Then he met a widow, Martha Donahue, which they married, and she helped raise all of those children that he still had, and she had one son, James.
So we'll hear about him later on.
But you don't know nothing too much.
So what Mills you want to go to? Okay. This is Ira's spot in the world. He was in the military, army. He did go overseas in World War II. He became a farmer east of Sangudo. Well, I won't say he died in the chicken house. And then my mother's here too. She passed away in 14. She was just a farmer's wife. Then I lost my sister, Diane. She's in here with them. She passed away in 2005. And she was a crafty person.
Where did she live?
Well, she lived in Bonnecourt when she passed away. But yeah, they lived in the city and north of the city, Bonnecourt. Hey,
Brothers and sisters.
And I still got. What have I got? I got 3 sisters still living, and 3 brothers. And one is in north of Sherry Hill. 2 are in the city. And then I got a sister in Calgary, a sister in Bonnyville, and a sister just west of Alberta Beach.
And their names?
Well, we got Shirley's the oldest, then Roy, Lyle, Joan, Holly, and Bruce.
And a little bit about yourself, Danny, where you worked for
Well, I
many years.
left Sangudo in '67, went to Whitehorse for 15 and a half years. Then I moved to Tumbler Ridge, just southwest of Dawson Creek. Stayed there for 67, or moved there in '83, and then came back to Alberta. I'm in Gunn right now, in a shack there, and back with the family for a while.
What were you doing?
Oh, and I
in
was
the
a
north?
heavy equipment operator.
Huh.
I was, yeah. I'm married with 2 kids, a boy and a boy and a girl. The girl's in Fort St. John and the boy is in Cranbrook.
Okay.
2 granddaughters, one in Toronto and one in Terrace, and 2 step-grandchildren in Sparwood.
Oh, really spread out.
Okay. This was my uncle, Pope, known as Pope, second oldest in the Mills family. His real name was Charles. We never knew him as Charles. It was always Uncle Pope. He was a mechanic,
In Sangudo.
lived in Sangudo all his life. He married Hildred Howard. They had
4 kids.
4 children. There was Margot,
Good
Dixie, Richard, and Denise. Dixie has passed away. Anne Margot has passed away, and Rick has passed away. Denise is still living in the Edmonton area. Oh, wait. Is that good enough?
Sure. I remember Pope being really tall. He was one of the
No.
tall Mills.
No,
wasn't he?
Percy was the tallest
Oh,
of all
really?
of them.
I thought
Percy was probably the tallest.
Yeah.
Percy and Pope in
No,
the
Pope
picture
was-
looked
Pope was-
taller than the others.
And I can always remember saying, we can't say every family had a pope in their family.
Yeah.
Now, we are now looking at Percy and Francis's headstone. Percy was the middle man in the Mills family. He married Frances Miller, who was a sister to Ken Miller. They had 2 sons, moved out to Sydney,
Yep.
BC, and the year, I don't remember the year that they moved. Auntie Frances did move back in her older days and was in the lodge here till her passing. Very remarkable mind auntie.
Yeah. And what about Percy? What did he do?
He was
in his life?
I don't know what he did.
he was
Mechanic,
kind of a
mechanic.
parts man, a
Yes,
gas jockey.
mechanic, yeah.
No, he not.
Not a mechanic?
I don't
Just
recall
a-
that.
Well, actually, he had to do with the electrical system. He ran that for a while, the power for the village. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
news
did.
to me.
He had a part in that. Bill even said that
Okay.
the people they would have to run it or bring the power up for wash day for Monday, and they would shut it down in the evenings, and they would tell people when they could
Okay.
run things because that power was limited because it was a
Wow.
battery system.
There you go. News to me.
Anyway, this is Betty, the videographer. I just wanted to say a little something about Frances. My spouse, Butch Thibbert, was very fond of her because her parents, Norm and Ella Thibbert, were very close to Percy and Frances and visited each other a lot. And so when Frances moved to the auxiliary hospital in Mayerthorpe, we visited her quite a few times. And in fact, she and her son Bill came to the acreage for a family barbecue, and it was a very pleasurable time, and our visits with her were very memorable, as she was a very pleasant lady and very sharp.
Yeah. Oh, I remember that barbecue. We were there too. And my husband, Nels Tufton, as a child, was close friends with Bill. And Bill and Nels used to go out to the Berry Ranch out on Stinkin' Lake and work for him on the weekends and ride horses and work with his team and so on. Then when we moved back here in 2016 from Drayton Valley, Nels and Bill renewed their friendship, and they had a really close relationship the last few years until we lost Bill in recent years. We're sorry that happened.
We are now at another family member of the Mills family. This is Horace. He married, his wife's name was Selma. That's all I know. They had 5 children. Their name was Donnie, Bob, Sandra, Valerie, and Jackie. Uncle Horace was a truck driver, school bus driver. He worked on the Alaska Highway, building of the Alaska Highway. And on one of his trips, he brought a set of twin bears home with him. Their name was Billy and Barney. They kept them on the farm for some time until they just got too big to be pets anymore, and they gave them to a zoo.
Where did they live?
Well, all I know, they live north of Sangudo, just up in the hill there. Just north of Sangudo there, you know? Oh, wherever it is.
No, they didn't live up there.
Oh, Horse and Tommy did. They lived there one time.
Okay.
They lived,
You lived on...
That's not right.
Oh, no, they
they lived down below, across from
I thought they were down below, near where.
They lived across from Obens's, where Obens was on the
Yeah.
corner there. That's where they lived.
Yeah, but they...
That's where I remember they
Near the
lived.
pit stop now.
Yes.
The pit stop now, near there.
But like I said,
Northeast end of
that's
town.
what I remember. That's where
Okay.
I last remember they lived.
Okay.
You're right.
Is what.
Again, see, she's
So-
been right
It's
lots.
right.
Okay, now we're going to my mother, who was Edna Mills, and she married Stan LeClercq. Together they had 8 children. There was Norma Constant, myself, there was Dennis, there was Gary, there was Glenn, there was Cheryl, Philip, and Sherry Lynn. We lived mostly in the country. At one time we had lived just across from where Grandpa Mills lived, just north of Sangudo. Then my folks moved to Heather Sage, which was north of Rochford. My dad was construction. He did a lot of carpenter work. My dad was also, as I remember my mother telling me, was also in the army. Just before I was born, she got notice that my dad was missing in action. And all of his stuff was sent home. And when she had me in the hospital, the stuff was sent home, but it was also notification came shortly after that he had been found. Him and some of his buddies were trapped in a foxhole with army tanks over them for some time. But he was found, got home, got back to the base and everything, and we got him back. What else can I say?
You said the kids.
Mhm.
Yeah. You lived in a house across from the United Church at one point.
They did.
You up
Oh,
there
I
in
had a
that Tina
picture I was going to
Langston-
bring you.
the
Oh, damn
Langston
it.
house.
An old picture
How that-
standing up there, you and Betty and Pat.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, oh, I should take that and give it to Iris. Forgot it. We don't
Yeah.
have any more to say, do we? Well,
Yeah.
lost my oldest sister. We lost my oldest sister, Connie. My brother Dennis, we will say, is very, very fortunate to be still with us today. He was run over by a tractor and drugged by Harrows for 50 feet. He was star-lifted to Edmonton, where they told us he would probably not make it, and to this day he is now walking around and driving. I don't know what else there is to say. We're all in this area.
All in Marathon.
Yeah, Marathon area. Well, Sherry didn't know, but that's okay. Okay. That's good. That's enough. Okay, we are now at my Uncle Wally's and Auntie Rita's. Uncle Wally was the second youngest in the Mills family. To my memory, Uncle Wally worked at the meat market that Grandpa Mills had. And then he went into custodian rather than janitor, right? Work at the school. And from there, him and my aunt moved into the city, where he continued still with that line of work. Auntie Rita worked in the Sangudo Creamery, and when they moved to Edmonton, she also continued in that line of work. They had 3 children. There was Dolores, Carmen, and Dwayne, which all were in the city with them when they moved. To this day, Auntie Rita is still alive and lives in Westlock. When they retired from Edmonton, they moved to Westlock, and Auntie Rita is still to this day in Westlock. Uncle Wally was one of the best uncles for singing. I can remember sitting on his knee and he'd sing, "There's a hole in the ground and the green grass grew all around, all around." And he would sing that to us every time we got together. That's all I know.
Just tell us that Carmen passed early.
Oh, Carmen, their middle daughter, as a child, had rheumatic fever and was not in really healthy shape, and she passed away
207.
in 2007. She had a very good job, and to this day, I can't remember what it was. I'm blank on that right now.
That's okay.
How about her motto?
Oh, Carmen's when Carmen met you, she would hold her hand out and she'd say, "I'm Carmen. Now you've met me, you won't forget me." And if you knew Carmen, you wouldn't forget her.
Now Rita's parents are right here to the right. Agnes.
And only.
I'm not seeing Oli's name, but it must be there. Oh yeah, there it is below. So they came from the Rich Valley area, didn't they? Rita's parents. And what I remember most about them is they lived in that house, used to be Principal Hepburn in that house. And it was across the back alley from Nels's parents, the Tuftons. So the Johnsons and the Tuftons were really, really good friends. They used to go hunting and fishing together and play tricks on each other. And Mabel Tufton and Agnes Johnson were tricksters back and forth.
All right, this is the baby of the family, Uncle Gilbert. He married a lady by the name of Anne, but I couldn't tell you who her last name was. They had 5 children: Colin, Susan, Earl, Patty, and Reen. Gilbert was a farmer, raised all his kids on the farm. To this day, his daughter and son own the farm. And I don't know whether Patty works for a power company, I think it is, in the city. Colin's retired. He was in the oil field. And Reen was a housewife, as far as I know. She's got 4 girls. Susan has 1 boy. Colin has...
You didn't name them all.
Just mention Susan's family, who she married, because they're well known in Central.
Yeah, but okay. Colin, I don't know who Colin married.
Bruce Lawridge.
Yeah,
Pardon?
I know who Susan married.
Bruce Lawridge.
Susan married Bruce Lowry.
Yeah,
they
and
have 1 son, David.
David works with them doing carpentry work, and that gazebo over there was built by
David
the Lawridges, and many structures in the area.
Very, very community involved.
Serve on everything.
Yeah.
They're just amazing people.
There you go. See, the stuff I don't even know because I didn't live here. I've left in '67.
Yeah.
You know, so you guys should be teaching me.
They had the 5 children. There was Colin, Susan,
Earl,
Earl, Patty,
and
and
Reen.
Reen. Earl still lives in Sangudo. I believe he's retired now.
Oh, he's
Yep.
still farming. He's still.
Oh,
doing
he's farming,
he's
yeah.
also part of the farm.
And Patty's husband Pat is farmer. And like I said, I don't know. Colin was in the oil business. So Colin, Susan was in the banking business, married to a Bruce what?
Lawridge.
Lawridge.
And there you go. And so Earl, well, he was in the oil field too. Patty, she worked for, I'm pretty sure it's a gas company or electrical company in the city. And Renee, as far as I know, she was a housewife because she had 4 daughters. That's all I can tell you.
And all I've got to add too. To me, Uncle Gilbert's name was Uncle Gibby. And my name to him was Scissors. We won't tell you why. Because he said my mouth went just like a pair of scissors when I was little.
Okay, we want.
James Donahue was the son of Martha Donahue, and Martha is the woman, the lady who married my grandfather Everett Mills. So he became their stepbrother. He was raised with the Mills children. He married. What the heck was her name?
Marjorie.
Marge Climby of Merthorpe, and they had 2 sons, Bob and Doug. Doug became a teacher and taught in Grand Cache, and to this day he still lives in Grand Cache. Bob was a businessman in this area.
And I just want to mention that Bob and my brother Danny went into business together, and 2 cannabis stores, Merthorpe and Edson. And then Bob, unfortunately, contracted COVID and passed last fall, the fall of 2021. But I know that Betty and Butch were close friends. So
Yes.
things to say.
Yes, Bob was a very, very close friend, a very good friend. And it was really upsetting when we learned that he passed away. We really didn't expect that. He came to the house many times. We've shared a meal many, many times. Got to know his lady friend, Angie, which has become a good friend, actually.
Just mention where they lived, where his place was this last one.
He lived across the river from us. Whenever we took walks down the trail, we'd see Bob working in his garden, and he was just within shouting distance, but he was across the river. Very, very beautiful home. Anyway, very many pleasant memories of Bob.
Okay, now we are at LeClercq. This is Norman LeClercq, which would have been a younger brother of my dad, who was Stan LeClercq. He married Anne Matula, who was also from the Sangudo area. They had 4 children. They had Jody, who passed away quite young. And then they had Sharon, who became a doctor. They had Jerry and Jeff. They had the 4 children. Uncle Norman worked in the Sangudo Creamery, and then he worked for the County of Lac St. Anne, maintenance in all of their schools. And Auntie Anne is still living today. Uncle Norman has passed away.
Okay, mention of brother Jim.
Oh, the youngest of the LeClercq family was Jim LeClercq, and he lived in this area for quite some years. He married Pearl Astle. From Sangudo, they moved to the city. They lived in the city for quite a while. Then they moved to Merthorpe, where Uncle Jim actually was mayor of Merthorpe for a few years. From there, they went to Evansburg and then back into the city to live. And Uncle Jim, if you recall, had a crippled arm, but it never hindered him at all in anything he wanted to do. He was a very good whistler and could play the harmonica.
It's
Who are the kids?
Oh, they had and their children. Now I got to think a minute. There was Eugene,
everything good.
Ingrid, Eugene, Gwen, Keith, Jim,
And then
and Edna. As we get older, we forget all our cousins. That's all I really know. We are now at my cousin Larry McBride's. Larry was the son of Lyle and Norma Mills. His mother passed away when Larry was quite young. Larry has one sister, Linda, who lives in Three Hills now. Larry's mother is buried Larry's mother is buried on the cemetery up on the hill. Irish name comes places.
Yeah.
Larry,
I definitely
Larry was
need-
quite the character. Was the character.
yeah, the
Up
character.
the town from when he was little right till he left.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to hear a joke, Larry could tell a joke like nobody else. And you'd get a laugh, and then he'd just wiggle a little closer on his chair, and he'd tell the punchline again, and it would be funny all over again. But he married a wonderful girl from the south of Sylvan Lake, Janet, and they moved there, or lived there in her family farm. We were close to them. Nels and Larry were really good friends. And so when we were traveling with our horses, maybe going to rodeos or something, we often stayed there with them. They had 2 kids, Stacy and Todd. Stacy married a dentist. They live out on the island, as far as I know. And Todd's down there in the NFL.
He's on the
home,
farm.
on the farm, the home farm. Yeah. Larry was a heavy equipment operator. He would run hose or big cranes, and was apparently exceptionally good at his job. Could get a job anywhere with any company. He was also very good at tipping the bottle.
and playing hockey. Very good
Pilsner,
at it.
and a terrific hockey player.
Yeah, just a
Never fight, just twirl the stick and say, come on. You're on, back up. Come on. But never would fight.
is an exceptional human being, just somebody you would never forget.
Larry was adopted, but he did find his family, which the whole family was so close. They were in the Barhead area all the years he lived in Sangudo.
Didn't he have something like 12 kids? He had 12 siblings?
They were it's a big Dutch family.
Oh, he was really happy to find his birth family anyway. Yeah. And his sister Linda was also
adopted. Larry had a saying to one of his very good friends. When they had a little fight, his friend said, well, you were just adopted. But he came back with saying, my mother got to pick me. Your parents got you and had to keep you. I can remember him telling us that. And it would come from Larry, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.